Your quality of life is determined by two things: the decisions you make and luck. Now, making better decisions is pretty straightforward, but what about luck? I used to think that some people were just born lucky, that those people were just naturally more lucky and there's not much you could do about it. But then I started to realize that actually those people who were consistently lucky, they engineered their own luck. They put themselves in a situation to be more lucky, and as a result, they were lucky. And see, there's a few common traits that these people have who are consistently lucky and little things that they do. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some traits that you can kind of adopt and things that you can do to become more lucky. Before we actually dive into this, I just want to give credit to George Mack, who wrote a great thread on this. And a lot of the ideas that I talk about today are kind of building on and expanding and adapting some of the ideas that he shared in that great thread. So I definitely recommend checking that thread out, and the link to that is in the description after you've watched this video. Okay, so in this video, we're not talking about dumb luck. We're not talking about winning the lottery or some Nigerian prince sending you an email, which, you know, if you just give him that £10,000 deposit, he'll give you millions and millions of dollars. Because that's the kind of luck that you can't really have much of an impact on. Those people are just born lucky. No, we're talking about the kind of luck that can be manufactured. The kind of thing where you expose yourself to more opportunities and increase your surface area to serendipity, and making sure that you're in the right place at the right time. I read this tweet the other day that Naval shared, which really kind of relates to this. The tweet comes from some person who was on a reality TV show for some reason. And she said that money just comes to me because I know where to stand. Now, if you replace money with luck, that's really what manufacturing luck is. You need to know where to stand to get lucky. And the first and most important part to getting lucky and being someone who is lucky is to increase your surface area to luck. Okay, so back in school, I remember doing this experiment. There was two jars on the side. One had 10 grams of granulated sugar and the other had 10 grams of a sugar cube. Now, we had to guess which one would dissolve faster. And it turns out that the granulated sugar dissolves into the water much faster than the sugar cube. And that is because the granulated sugar has a much greater surface area. Even though it's the exact same amount of sugar, it's the exact same ingredient, because each individual granule of sugar is exposed to the water, because each of those has its own surface area, it dissolves much faster than the sugar cube. And the reason the sugar cube has less of a surface area is because the cube itself is actually protecting some of the sugar inside from being exposed to water. So it dissolves much slower. And that is all down to the fact that the sugar cube has much less surface area than the granulated sugar. Now you're probably thinking, what the hell does this have to do with luck? And I don't know either, to be honest. No, well, it turns out that this is exactly how getting lucky works. The most important factor that you can kind of control is increasing your surface area to luck. It is increasing your ability to be lucky at a certain time. It is positioning yourself in a place where you can be exposed to these external factors which actually will make you lucky. And one of the best ways to increase your surface area to luck is through your environment. And with your environment, you really have two things that you can control. And the first is to move your physical location to somewhere where you're more likely to be exposed to luck. For example, in the early 2000s, if you wanted to build a startup, if you wanted to get into startups and building things on the internet, then the best place you possibly could have moved was San Francisco. And that's because there would have been loads of like-minded people building their startups, as well as different VCs and people who are going to give you opportunity. Just moving there by itself wouldn't have meant that you were entitled to get lucky or it would definitely happen. But what it does mean is that you're much more likely to meet other people who are growing companies who might have given you an opportunity at their company. Maybe you could have learned something at that startup and then started your own startup. Or maybe you could have become good friends with a VC who ended up funding your startup. This stuff wouldn't have happened if you didn't move your environment to San Francisco, if you didn't surround yourself yourself with other people who are interested in the same things you are and are trying to build in the same direction. Which moves me on to the second part of your environment that you can control, and that is your online environment. So essentially, where do you hang out on the internet? If you can't and frankly don't want to move to a specific location just to be exposed to more luck, because maybe you enjoy your life where you are, or maybe you want to live in the countryside where probably not going to get that lucky and someone's going to fund your startup. You can expose yourself to luck by just hanging out in the right places on the internet. Places like Twitter, Reddit, Discord servers, all these different places, you can surround yourself with like-minded people, people who are building things, people who potentially could give you some form of lucky break. And all you need to do is find those people, become friends with them, and add value to their lives. It's not like you're doing this all just because you want them to give you something, but what you need to do to increase that surface area when you're controlling your environment is just put yourself in a position to be around people who are lucky, people who are striving to achieve things. One great example of this is Tom Osman. He started a community called the Shiny Object Social Club, which is for people interested in crypto, Web3, and becoming creators. By being the instigator, by being the person who created that community, Tom was able to spot new trends before they were happening in the mainstream. This then allowed him to capitalize on them early before other people knew they were even happening. Midway through 2021, Tom realized that there was a lot of attention going towards an NFT collection called Etherox. So anticipating that the popularity of this NFT collection would go up, what Tom did is he bought one of these Etherox for 1.7 Ethereum. At the time, that was worth somewhere around $5,300. Then just 19 days later, the demand for Etherox went completely nuts. Tom decided to sell his Etherox for 400 Ethereum. Bear in mind that just 19 days earlier, he bought that for 1.7 Ethereum, and he's selling it for 400 Ethereum, which worked out somewhere around $1.3 million. Yeah, seriously. What's really interesting about Tom's story is that obviously he built skills and he built knowledge in that area, but a big part of his story is luck. But it's not just dumb luck, it's not like he won the lottery. Instead, Tom manufactured his own luck by creating that community, by being an active member of this community, by bringing these people together who are all interested in a certain thing. That online space essentially became the place where he got inside information and he got this knowledge that other people just didn't have. Really what Tom did is he figured out where to stand to get lucky. And anyone can do this. All you need to do is optimize your environment to increase your exposure and your surface area to luck. And the best thing you can do to achieve this is to find like-minded people who are trying to strive for something and all interested in a specific thing, and then just add value to them. Another handy way to increase your surface area to luck is something that George Mack calls the luck razor. So this is simple. If you're given two equal options, then choose the one that increases your likelihood that you'll get lucky. For example, if you had to choose between going to a cocktail party or watching Netflix, well, it's pretty obvious that you have more chance of meeting people who might help you get lucky and meeting people who will increase your serendipity at the cocktail party. If you sit home and watch Netflix, there's really no chance that you're going to increase your surface area to be lucky in future. Whereas if you go to that cocktail party, you might meet someone who can completely change your life. What's nice about this framework is it makes making decisions really easy. Because sure, intrinsically you might want to stay at home and watch Netflix because it's easier, but there are plenty of other ways to relax. And if those other avenues actually increase that surface area to luck, if that is interacting with people, it's talking to people in a community, those kind of things, then the chances are it's a better way to spend your time. And little decisions like this really add up over time. Another useful way to increase your surface area to luck and increase the serendipity in your life is to work hard, work smart, and then get lucky. Okay, so if you've watched my videos for any period of time, you'll know that I'm not an advocate for just working 100 hours a week and trying to build something just because you want to make loads of money. But instead, I think that you should work hard on things that you enjoy doing and try build something that improves the quality of your life. And there's a sentiment that seems to be going around a lot of the minute where people shouldn't work hard and they should just work smarter instead. Now, the issue with this sentiment is that just working smarter sounds a lot easier than it actually is. It puts people in a position where they start to believe that they're above average. And as Derek Sivers says in this great article, most people think they're above average, which cannot be the case. For example, 96% of cancer patients claim to be in better health than average cancer patients. And 94% of professors say they're better than an average teacher. And 90% of students think they're more intelligent than the average student. And 93% of drivers say they're safer than average drivers. But when you apply this to your own life and you think, oh, but I actually am able to work smarter than other people, you realize that you're actually doing it again. As Derek Sivers says in this article, it's a really good idea to just assume that you're below average. Because when you assume that you're below average, you accept the fact that you're still learning and that you need to do things to put yourself in a position to succeed. Now, I think working smarter is a great idea, but before you know how to work smarter, the chances are you need to work harder. Because when you're getting started, you don't know what to optimize and you don't know how to work smarter because you have no experience with that thing. Especially in the beginning, it is important that you work hard. And over time, you keep optimizing and work smart. And when you work hard and smart, the chances of you getting lucky is inevitable. As Neil Gaiman said, often you will discover that the harder you work and the more wisely you work, the luckier you get. And finally, probably the most essential part of being a lucky person is your perspective. See, if you think that you're a lucky person, then the chances are you are a lucky person and you will get lucky. And if you think you're an unlucky person, then the chances are you will get unlucky. And while I think that the psychological part of this, of actually just believing it in the first place, is important, I almost think it's more important to manifest it for yourself in as non-woo-woo way as possible. The most important part of your perspective is how it changes your actions. See, if you're just someone who believes that you're lucky and believes that you can control your surface area to look and actually have an influence on how lucky you get in future, then you're much more likely to take actions that align with you becoming lucky in future. You're more likely to put yourself out there and do things that make you feel a little bit uncomfortable because you know that doing that is good for you. And if you believe that there's nothing you can do to get more lucky and that you're an unlucky person, then the chances are that you're going to close yourself off to potential opportunities in future. You'll likely resent other people's success and you'll almost manifest becoming an unlucky person just from your own perspective. Before I get a little bit too woo-woo here, I honestly believe that, like with most things in life, your perspective is the most important part. And luckily, you're in control of that. Anyway, thank you very much for watching the video. Like I mentioned, luck is a topic that I don't see a lot of people talk about. A lot of people will talk about making better decisions and doing these things that are really incredibly tangible. But I think it's important to talk about things like luck. So if you have any ideas for increasing your surface area to luck or any ideas on luck in general, then please drop them in the comments because I'd love to see them. And as always, thank you very much for watching and I'll catch you next time.